Okay, just to finish up a loose end, we saw yesterday a very basic question about how could you possibly go ahead and teach a Bas Yisrael to be with a guy? After all, it's Gili Aroyos. So we saw two terutzim. We saw the teretz of Rabbeinu Tam, that to be with a guy is like with an animal. It's not considered Gili Aroyos. And we saw the teretz of the Rivon that says it's Karka Olam, that you teach them to be passive. The Rivon and asked a powerful question on Rabbeinu Tam. Aryeh Weiner said the kasha when Esther tells Mordechai kasher varati avarati. He goes ahead and says, "Listen, I'm fast for 3 days, and I'm going to go present myself to Achashverosh and ask him to save Klal Yisrael." Put into motion the plan. And she says, "Now I'll be lost to you." Why? Because until now, I was passive, and now I'm doing it baratzin. According to Rabbeinu Tam, baratzin, why would it make a difference? After all, if it's not Gili Aroyos, even if you are baratzin, you should not be lost to your husband. That was the question that was posed to that Aryeh was mechaber to, that Tosfos asked the Rivon and Rabbeinu Tam. So I answered that maybe it's a difference baratzin. When you do something baratzin, it's different. So I said it as off the cuff, but really it's a teretz with a very deep understanding, and it's brought. I heard from Rabbi Bornstein. It's brought from the Chassam Sofer in the Shem of the Maharik. Maharik was from the Rishonim. Let's go ahead and divide up a halacha versus a mitzias of emotion. So when it comes to a man and a woman being married and the woman cheating on her husband, the Torah is pretty clear. What does it say in the parsha of Saita in Bamidbar Hey Pasuk Yud Beis? Daber el bnei Yisrael v'amarta aleihem ish ki sista ishtay, a man that his wife will turn away, umola b'mal, and she will go ahead and be mal. She'll act in a treacherous way by going ahead and being unfaithful. That's what it says. Now, the Marik makes a distinction between what she did to her husband and what the halacha is klape shmaya vis-a-vis bezin shalmayla and vis-a-vis bezin shalada. If the Marik had a shaila, there was a woman who thought, I don't know how, but she thought that to be with another man after you're married is mutter. In other words, I'm married, but I don't have to be magnanimous. I could go ahead and be with another man. And the shaila is brought to Marik. What's the din? Now, the MS, there's a machloek in a Bayev Rav and Shas. What is oime mutter? It's Gemara Makis. Oime mutter. If a person thinks something is mutter, are you a shogeg or are you an honest? If you thought something was permitted, am I a shogeg or an honest? Either way, a shogeg or an honest are not going to be punished b'dei adam. They're not. If shogeg, maybe you bring a carbon. Honest, you won't bring anything, but you're not amazed. You're not amazed. So if a woman thought that it's mutter, so she should not be asa to a husband, because after all, she thought it's mutter, and at worst, it's a shogeg. Says the Marik, even if klape shemaya vis-a-vis heaven, vis-a-vis the Torah, she can't be punished. Klape her husband, she was mol mabal. Klape her husband, vis-a-vis her husband, she was unfaithful. If a woman is unfaithful to her husband, so therefore she could be also on the husband, regardless. Nothing to do with it. In other words, it's a distinction between what's my chiyuv towards Shemayim and what's my chiyuv to Sodom. So regardless, whether you thought it's mutter or not mutter, the mitzias is you are a married woman and you with another man. That's the hezbollah to explain Rabbeinu Tam, the question that Aryeh asked, that Tosfos asked. How can you, Rabbeinu Tam, say that being with a goy is not Gili Aroyos? If it's not Gili Aroyos, then why would Esther say to Mordechai, I'm lost, I can't be with you? Says the Marik, it's not a stira. It's takanat Aroyos. Why? Because Zeresusum's Muslim. It's like an animal. It's not us. It's not Klape Gili Aroyos, it's not Aroyos. You're with another man. 1 second, you with another man in Mitzias, you were physically with another man. The Torah says, you're with another man. So it has nothing whatsoever to do with Shemayim. It has to do, in a Metzias, you're with another man. If a woman's with another man, she's us to a husband. And that would answer up how it's possible, like Rabbeinu Tam, on one hand, to be not Gili Aroyas, and the other hand, still be us to your husband, which is what I said yesterday, but of course, not with this Hezbollah, because I didn't know what I was talking about. But the Ratzon, that aspect of Ratzon would go ahead and say that you be us. It's a beautiful, beautiful Hezbollah. It's brought down very often. It's used, this Smarik is brought down by Moshe often, that there's a Metzias, that if a woman is with another man on an emotional level, think about it. You're gone. You're finished. You can't be with your husband. You're asa. You're not chayiv misa. It's not a royas. It doesn't make a difference. That would close up a loose end from yesterday's shir that we concluded with that Tosfos. It's so interesting. I said that Tosfos was one of the most famous Tosfos in Shas, if not the most famous. Rabbi Bronstein, when he's giving his shir, he said, "This has got to be a top 10." He said, "Baruch Shekavanti." He said, "This is one of the top 10 Tosfos in Shas." It's just what's so well-known Tosfos. The difference between the bia with the goy is arayos, and the concept of karka olam, of the woman being passive and not doing anything baratzon. Okay, how did we get into that sugya? We got into the sugya to explain a brisa. The brisa said that you should get married on a Wednesday, but if it's a shasa sakana, then you get married on a Tuesday. What was the shasa sakana? That there was a halacha there was a gezerah that you have to go ahead and be with the governor before. So therefore, we said, what kind of sakana it's an honest? Because you teach them that it's mutter. Says the Gemara, there's always, you're worried about the tzluos, who will think that it's sakana, and they'll kill themselves. Or about kahenos, or about a prutza who'll do baratzon. That's how we got into it. And the Gemara concluded yesterday with another, the Brisa said, and you get married on a Monday. Who can get married on a Monday? Who can get married on Monday? You're scared that you heard on Wednesday, the marauding army is coming to town. So now they're going to go ahead and take the Suda. They're going to take the whole Suda away, and you won't have anything. So therefore, get married on a Monday, it's mutter to go ahead, and that's an onus. Says the Gemara, what about getting married on a Tuesday? Says the Gemara, the head, the kitchen, the cooks come beforehand. They were coming on a Tuesday to prepare for the general who's coming on Wednesday. The mailer, you better get married on Monday to be sure you have the Suda. That's where we ended up yesterday. We're going to have another shot now on what the honest is, okay? So again, until now, the honest is that it's mutter to get married on a Monday, mutter to get married on a Monday because you're going to lose your Suda. Here's another shot, and if it's an honest, it's mutter to get married. Here's another shot. We're up to Gimel Amid Beis. We're up to Gimel Amid Beis. We are 4 lines from the bottom. The Ibayis Ema, my machmesa honest. What does it mean? Machmesa honest, that if you on a Monday, even though you're supposed to get married on a Wednesday, you can get married on a Monday. Kidetani, pitay afoy, the bread was baked, uthavchay tefuach, and the meat was geschachten, and the meat was all slaughtered. V'yena imazuk, and the wine was diluted. They used to go 3-part wine to 1 part water. They would go ahead, or is it 3-part water to 1 part wine? I forgot. It's 3-to-1 ratio. They would go ahead and dilute the wine. Umeis and aviv shel chasen ayim shel kala, and the people who we see who are involved in taking care of the chasen, his father, making sure the suit is prepared, and the people involved with the mother, the people involved with the mother, with the bride, the mother who will be in charge of getting the trousseau together and tafshitin together, and these people die. Why? And they die on a Monday, guys. They die on a Monday. So this is the honest. The honest is they're dying. What do? Machnisin es hameis lechader. You take the mace, you put it in one room, and ve'esachasem ve'esakala lechuppah, and then you marry them off. You marry them off again. What you want to do is get the marriage in before the kfura. Once there be a kfura, then there would be a din of avelis. Once there's an avelis, they can't get married. So, right? Amid Aleph, uboila bilis mitzvah, and he lives with her, the bila of mitzvah, upoirish, and then he separates from her. V'noyig shivas yimei anishta, and you have 7 days of shaver brachis. V'yakach noyig shivas yimei avelis, and then you have 7 days of avelis. V'cholois hayomim hu yoshen bein anoshim. All those days, the 7 days of the mishta, the 7 days of the mishta, he sleeps with the men. She sleeps with the women, because we don't trust them to be together. And tashmish amita is usher during avelis. And you don't hold back the tachshitim, different makeups or jewelry for the kala 30 days. The dafka aviv shel chasana ima shel kala, dafka these individuals, the leka inish to tarach lahu, because there's no one else who go ahead and by the man trouble to making the suda, by the woman taking care of her aesthetical needs. Aval ibcha loy, but the ibcha is not. Ibcha is not. Okay, that's the brisa. So let's go over the brisa. What happened? Your loyalenu, you had the sudas prepared. Sunday, Monday, it comes on Monday. You're supposed to get married on a Wednesday. An onus happens. What's the onus? The onus is not speaking about the army coming to town. Another onus, loyalenu, one loses a parent, a father, a particular parent. The chassan loses his father, and the kala loses a mother. What do? Then mutter to get married on Monday. It's mutter to get married on Monday. So let's see some of the Rashis here. First, back on the Yomid base. Kidetanya, the first wide line. Chassan shemes aviv b'sheni, he dies on a Monday. Ve'ein yachal lahamtim ad l'machar. You're not able to wait till Tuesday. Why? Shetzarach la'shoisei esames ad shechnis l'chuppah. Because we have to go ahead and keep the mace out until there's a chuppah. Keeping the mace out, we know is not covered on mace. We want to bury as soon as possible. So therefore, since you have no option to keep the mace around till a Wednesday, right, when you can get married, what you do is you get married and then you bury on Monday. So the onus is the burial. Okay? And now the Suda is prepared. The Suda is prepared. Let's go to the Yom and Aleph now. So we said you go to the chuppah and boil bilas mitzvah, says Rashi, v'yikbru es hameis miyad. And as soon as he lives with her, then you bury. The kivin, the cholol of chasana, once it was chal the chasana, because they had the chuppah, havi legabei keregel. It's like a regel to him. It's like the shalish regalim where there's no avelis on the moyed. V'yasya avelis v'chayel. The avelis wasn't chal yet. V'noyig shivas yimei hamishta. And you know what? 7 days of party. Good. So in other words, why is it that you keep shaver brachas if you just buried the dead? Guys, the kasha, the Bryce, what was that pecking order? The death, marriage, relations, shaver brachas, avelis. Why shaver brachas? And the answer is because once there was chal, the simcha of the chasana, it's like chalamoid. It's like the sheves yimei of what of yontif. Ein avelis be yontif. There's no avelis on yontif. So Memela, that's what happened. Why can't they live together? Continues Rashi. Hu Yoshem bein Anoshim. Ve'ein misyachtim zem zeh. During those 7 days of Mishnah, they can't be miyached together. Shema Yibo, maybe he'll live with her. Va'ovel asa b'tashmish amita. And an ovel's asa b'tashmish. Ki yafinam be'el megalchen. You said what? It's not chali avelis. And af b'sheves mi amishta shehin keregel. Noyihu avelis shall divrei tzina. When it's the vorm shebet tzina, that things that no one would know you're a novel about, the hainu issa tashmish kil kaman. So when it comes to the vorm shebet tzina, even on the regel, you would be noyig those avelis. So that is the explanation of the brisa. We're going to digress now and discuss this brisa, but vis-a-vis pshat in the previous brisa, that's pshat of the oinus getting married on a Monday because there was an avelis and you had to go get the chasna in, and therefore it's mutter to get married Monday, not a Wednesday. Yes, Tov.
He'll be Yoshim bein Hanoshim and she bein Hanoshim for 7 or 14 days.
7 days. The 7 days. The 7 days in the Mishnah.
And why aren't you
I think it's only us the 7 days. I'm not sure. I'm not sure of the halacha of if it's over 30 days. I don't remember from Moed Cotton. If it's can't have tashmish for 30 days, then it will be continuing on. It depends the end of the tash. Lafia, I think I remember it's 7 days, but it could be I'm wrong. Again, it could be I'm wrong. I don't remember Hilchas Avelis. But again, that point is that okay. Guys, good? Because we understand Pshat, how this explains the Brisa, but now we're going to spend the rest of the shir going through the guts of this Brisa. In other words, now we're going to analyze on itself. We have the Pshat in the previous Brisa, why you married on a Monday, and now we're going to analyze this Brisa.
Can I ask you a question, Liz?
Sure. One second. Benji has a kind of. Benji, you want to pipe up? Benji.
Okay, make sure they're rammed out today.
Benji, talk.
What did the Nats do last night?
Okay, I said today I'll make sure they're rained out.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, why is this an explanation of the Bryce about honest? I know it isn't honest, but this would be the case that you would do if it happened on any day. Because of the impending Shiva, you would make sure to do this.
Einochinami. And if this onus happened on a Monday, if you take a look at Rashi, that the mace happened on a Monday, but again, it would have to happen on a Monday that you want to get into Suda. You want to, in other words, you're gonna miss out on the whole thing. The preparation is made in Suda, or also you want to wait 7 days, but you're right.
No, I got that makes the fact that it happened is what creates the fact that you need to do it the day that it happened.
Pshat Meya, if there's an onus that gets married on a Monday, that's all we need. We need a pshat to Bryce, so this works.
Okay.
If the death happens on a Monday, it works. Okay, so now says the Gemara, Vaita. Omar Afram Bapapa, Omar Afkista. Loi Shanu, when we said that again, you get married, because you don't want to lose the Suda. May, it really answers your question. May, the other days there's not going to be a Suda, May. The Suda is going to be on a Monday because you started preparing already. In other words, if it's other days, you're not preparing. You understand? The reason over here is because you're going to lose the food. Watch, the Gemara is going to answer your question. Watch. Amrav Chista, Loi Shanu, that you can get married on a Monday because you're worried about losing the Suda. Ela Shen Nasan Mayim Al Gabe Basar. That the meat was in the preparatory stage, that there's no going back because you put water on the meat. But let's say you didn't, and I guess the meat would hang around and you'd be able to sell it. Ms. Davin, sell it and don't get married on a Monday. So, May, that answers your question, correct? Okay, good. So now, we're qualifying this. That you can get married on a Monday, that it's mutter, is provided that what? You're not going to take a financial loss because you're not going to lose the Suda. When would that be? If you put water on the meat. The previous price I just mentioned, if the tavach tefuach, the meat was slaughtered, it didn't tell you what state it was in. It just told you it was slaughtered. Says Rav Chista, the Amoira, to explain the Brisa, that we said that the meat is slaughtered and therefore you have a permission to get married on a Monday would be provided that what? The meat's going to spoil, you can't sell it because you put water on the meat. Amarava, and where are we speaking about? Ubikrach afabishenasa mayim agabe basim is davin. If it's a large city, even if it's the meat is in a state of the necessity to sell it because it's been prepared by having water on it, you know what? You can sell it. Don't get married on a Monday. You'll be able to sell it. You won't take a financial loss. Amra Papa to the other side, ubikfar, and in the villages where there weren't so many buyers, even if it was just slaughtered and there was no water on the meat, you still could get married. Why? Because it's hard to sell. So therefore, it's very funny. If you're in the big city, even if water's on it. If you're even in the small city, even water's not on it. So where did Rav Chista say is din? Guys, so which place did Rav Chista say is din that there's this distinction between whether there's water or not water? And for the Gemara, the Elad Rav Chista, Heichim Mishkachas, though, where do you find Rav Chista? That where there's a chilik between water and not water. Rav Ashi in Masa Mechasya, a town that's the size of Masa Mechasya, the Mafka Mikrach, it's not a large city. Mafka Mikfar, it's not a small city. So therefore, if there's water on it, you're in trouble. And if there's not water on it, you'll be able to sell it. So a medium city, a Beinani, that would be the place where Rav Chista's distinction applies. Tani Kabasi Rav Chista, we have a brisa that's a raya to Rav Chista to this one nakuda. It's going to be a brisa, but we're only limiting it to one nakuda, which is it's speaking when tavach tefu is water's on the meat. This is the same brisa with a different kanech. The bread is baked, and the meat is slaughtered, and the wine is diluted. And here's the key that we didn't say in the previous brisa, and here's the raya to Rav Chista, and water was put on the meat. There's your raya. Uboil bilas mitzvah, upayrish. Then he separates from no yekshivas mei hamishta, v'achach no yekshivas mei avelis. V'chol oisin hayomim, all those days, hu yoshem bein anoshim, v'ishto yishena bein anoshim. Let's just stop for 1 second. Let's see a Tosfos, the second Tosfos. Why is it called Bila Shal Mitzvah? Guys, we're familiar with Bila Shal Mitzvah. For example, if a man goes in the derech, he's going on a trip, there's a bias mitzvah. The night of the mikvah is a bias mitzvah. Why is this a bias mitzvah? The act of bia makes what? The woman your wife. A woman bonds herself with the man which she lived with the first time. Through the fact that there was a bia, she will go ahead and cling to him. They'll come to go ahead. Therefore, we call the first bia. Again, women are not mitzvah per guys. Women are not commanded. We did this. Remember, we did this in Yavamis. Machlokes Beishami Beisilo, per 2 males, male, female. We went through the sugya, and we said there that women are not mitzvah per Right? What is it saying? The Torah pruvavu mulas aretz v'kivshua. Those who are v'kivshua, those who are part of what? Capturing the land, are commanded in the first part of the pasuk, pruvavu. Those who are not v'kivshua, those who are not warriors capturing the land, are not. So what brings a woman to the husband to mekayim the mitzvah is the first bia. The first bia makes her bris with, this is my man. The mela, since it's galita kiyam perverivya, it's called what? Bila shal mitzvah. Beautiful places. Okay, now
is Avelus the Rabbanan or the Raisa? This is the Raisa.
This asmachta. Avelus is asmachta. We learned it in Moed Katan, right? In Moed Katan, the halachas of Avelus in Moed Katan. Again, it could be Avelus is the Raisa, but the times are the Rabbanan. This asmachta, this Moshe Rabbeinu was 30 days by Yeshua, 7 days. But I think that by and large it's the Rabbanan.
Because I was asking in the context of one living with his wife,
well, hang on there. Again, we're going to see that. Hang on there. V'chein. So now we just dealt with separation of male and female during the period of Sheva Brachas because of Avelis that he shouldn't be with her. Good. Now. V'chein mi shepirsa ishtay nida, if his wife is Paris and nida, hu yashem bein anashim v'yishena bein anashim. Now this is speaking about a chuppas nida, where a woman got married, and at the time of the marriage she was a nida. The wedding night, they don't sleep together. Night of the wedding night. So v'chein, just as we separate by avelis, right? Just as we separate by avelis, so too we separate what by nida. Just be aware, by Avelis was separating after he already lived with her. By nida, he never lived with her yet. Correct? That's a distinction. That's important. You won't hold back tachshit and kala all 30 days. Whether it was an oinus or whether it was not an oinus, lo yivol, a man should not. Again, this is all brisa will be explained. Now, benkach or benkach, getting back to the farm. Whether it's an oinus or whether it's not an oinus, a person should not have relations. Shabbos. Everything will be explained as you have the word omamar. Omamar always means what? Let's go back and explain the brisa. Good. Omamar. Hu yoshem bein anashim. V'hi yeshena bein anashim. Good. Messiah Rabbi Yochanan. Dam Rabbi Yochanan. Afa pisha amru. Ein avelis b'moyed. Even though Rabbi Yochanan said there's no din avelis b'moyed. Avol dvarim shel tzina, as we mentioned in Rashi above. When it comes to things that are behind closed doors, in other words, things that are not announcing that I'm going against my avelis. We always say you can go to a kiddush and shul on Shabbos because why? Ein avelis b'frahesya. But things that are not b'frahesya, that are b'tzina, that they're even on, that is a din of avelis on. So therefore, dvarim shel tzina we're noyig. Okay, that's a raya that even though they're an avol, so even though it's a regel, what's the regel, guys? He just got married. The 7 days of Sheva Brachas are synonymous with the regel. Nonetheless, it's a raya, just like on the regel, a person would not be able to, if it's avelis, he can't live b'tzina with his wife, who adin, the Indian, he gets married when he's a novel. Says the Gemara, Darish Rabbi Yosef prayed the Rava, Mishmei the Rava. Rabbi Yosef, the son of Rava, darshan the name of Rava. Lo shanu, we did not learn that you have to sleep separately, elish lebo, if you weren't living together. You never had bia. Avabal ishtoi, if right, then avabal ishtoi yishana imay, and she could sleep with him. Good. That's so. In other words, Rava's son wants to go ahead and say, and based on the name of Rava's son, wants to say there's a distinction between what, whether they live together or not. Now, this is a big problem. Why? Because obviously the case of Avelus that we're under discussion, he was boil bila shel mitzvah, and we still separated them. He was with her, and we still separated him. Here we're dealing with it was. In fact, he had lived with her. If he had lived with her, so why is how can you go ahead and say they're being separate despite the fact they live together as man and wife? Says says the Gemara, when Rabbi Yosef said that, he wasn't speaking about Avelus, he was speaking about Pirsa Ishtanida. This din that you separate them because she was a Nida is speaking where they never lived together as man and wife. As I prefaced this, a chuppah Nida, right? A chuppah Nida where they live together as man and wife, right? Anyone who's married off a child knows the extent that the mother, the busy with pills to make sure that it's not a chuppah Nida. Baruch Hashem, Bisman Hazeh, they're much more successful in controlling a cycle of a woman. Unfortunately, I had an incident with one of my sons who had a chuppah nida, and it was not geschmack. So the appears to ishtay nida, so that's what it's speaking about. But Mashen cannot. So guys, comes out like this: that Rabbi Yosef said that you have to separate is only by boil when. If she's a nida. If she's a nida, then there's a distinction between whether he lived with her or he didn't. By Avelus, even though he did live with her, he still has to separate. Avelus, our case, he lived with her. Boil bila shel mitzvah, right? Noyik 7 day anishta. V'chol oisa hayamim hu yashan bein anashim v'hi yashena bein nashim. That's what it says. So we have a distinction between Nida and Avelus. The distinction being that by Nida, it's an Issachkaris. Nida, to be with a Nida is an Issachkaris. By Avelus, it's an Alav. You'll be over on Alav to live with her, if it's Asa. If it's the Raisa, it's Alav. If not, it's the Rabbanim. Now, says the Gemara. Let's just see Rava for a second. Ki kama Rava, the last Rashi, Loishanu appears to Ishtay Nida kamar. The key in the nida chamura, baal mehimin Allah, he's not going to come to me mizalzal nisakaris. Mashen came by Avelus. That's the distinction. Says the Gemara, kitani. 1 second. You mentioned guys, here's what you mentioned. You said Avelus, v'chein ishta shapir sanida. What does v'chein mean? That the same halachas that applied by what Avelus applies by Nida. V'chein means they're parallel, they're synonymous. So now you're making a distinction. Once you said v'chein, means the halachas are exactly the same. So you can't just tell me it's going on Isha Nida and not going on what? On Avelus. And on Avelus, it says boil. Clearly, it was boil bila shel mitzvah. And Amid Beis says, the Hachi Kamar. Here's the pshat. Hachi Kamar, here's the pshat. V'chein, mishe pirsa Isha Nida, v'loi ba'al, just hear those words. Hu yoshen bein anoshim v'ishtay shena bein anoshim. So even though by Avelus it's speaking where you're boil and you have to separate, by Nida, if you weren't boil, then you have to separate. But Einachinam, if you were boil, then you don't have to separate. Remember, you mean to tell me that Avelus kila leimi Nida, that Avelus is more lenient vis-a-vis the couple than Nida. Why? Because since it's more lenient, they're separating because we don't trust them. Masha ein kain Nida, which is more chama, he will separate. Again, what are we saying? We will, even though he had lived with her, we're separating them. Why? Because it's more lenient to him that he will be prone to be with his wife. We don't trust him. Masha ein kain by Nida, we do trust him if, in fact, he had lived with her. It says the Gemara, L'meimer d'Avelus kila leminida, Ayvam Rav Yitzchak bar Chanina, says Rav Yitzchak bar Chanina, Amar Rav Huna, Kol melachas she'isa oisha lebaila, any melachas that an isha is permitted to do to her husband, nida oisha lebaila, a nida can do for her husband with the following: chutz mizigas kais, a woman, when she's a nida, is not permitted to pour a cup and pass it to her husband. You're not allowed to take from your wife's hand. You're not allowed to take a kais. A woman shouldn't make a bread spread in front of her husband. A woman shouldn't wash her husband's face, hands, and legs. In other words, in the days, I guess they were barefoot. One of the things that woman did would go ahead and I don't think this is happening with Manazeh. She'd wash her husband's feet. Right? Talk about woman's lip. It ain't happening, right? So, but these are one of the things. And you guys, these are chibur. These are inyani that would bring, a kravis. So we stay. This is a harchaka. Bisman, a woman's a need that we stay away from these things. Now, the ilu gabi avelis, regarding avelis Tanya, afa pisha amru ein adam reshoy lakov es ishtoi liyos kaichelis liyos paikeses. Even though a man is not able to force his wife to not wear makeup or to braid her hair or put rouge on her face, machlekes Rashi Tosfos. Be'emes amru ma'zeges le'akois, an ovel she can pour the kois and pass it to him. Umatzos la'amita, and make the bed in front of him. Umachetzes le'panav yadav v'raglav. So guys, you got a problem. You're telling me that we're more worried that by avelis, that they may be over, he might not be trusted and live with her versus nida, that what? That he won't. We have the harchaka by nida is more severe than the harchaka by avelis. Why? Because avelis, we don't seem to be worried, despite the fact she's doing the varm shel chibur, things that are terms of endearment, right, to the husband. Nonetheless, we're not worried. So we have a kasha. Is it more lenient or not? Apparently, from our brisa, the way Rabbi interpreted it, avelis is more lenient. Therefore, we're worried. Le'inyan harchakis, avelis is more chamor, that a person will stay away, and therefore we're not worried. Says the more like kasha, not a problem. Kam avelis didei, kam avelis dida. Now, if it's his avelis, then we don't trust him. If his yetzer hara gets a hold of him, since it's his avelis, we don't trust him, and he'll force the issue with his wife. Conversely, if it's his wife's avelis, then we're not worried, because if he makes any advancements, she'll stop him. So therefore, over here, when we spoke about that he sleeps between her and him, it's speaking where he's an avel. The obvious question is, it says her mother died. Okay, we'll get to that soon. But it's speaking where what? Where he's an avel. If he's an avel, we don't trust him. They sleep in separate rooms. Conversely, the brisa said she's able to go ahead and make his bed and wash his feet and pass him a cup. That's speaking where what? She's an avel, and therefore she'll stop him if he doesn't do anything. Fred the Gemara, how could you possibly say that the brisa is speaking about his avelis and not hers? We said, who died? Either his father or her mother. Her mother means her avelis. How can you say it's his avelis or limited to his avelis? Ki ketani ashaira. When is that going? It's going on the rest. When ketani, it's going on the rest. Rashi, ki ketani ima shel kala ashaira. When it says the mother of the kala, it's going on the rest. Amachnisim hameis lechader, avahu yoshem ben anoshim avelis dechasim kai. So in other words, if the mother dies, then you're going to put her in a separate room and they'll go through with the wedding. And that din that you said that you separate between ish v'isha is only if his father died. If her mother died, they could sleep together. Why? Because she will stop him from doing anything. In other words, if the yetzer hara is totally in him, we don't trust him. If his wife is avelis, then whatever he does, she's going to stop him. So in Mela, we have a pshat. The brisa before that said that they sleep together, they sleep separately, is speaking on his avelis. It said ima shel kala. That's just going on the whole thing about getting married in the first place before the avelis is kal. Masha enking, that din of the brisa that says that he sleeps between the men and she sleeps with the woman, that's only going on when his father died. Masha enking, if her mother died, no, it's not going on that. And that's the brisa that says she can go ahead and wash his feet and pass him a cup and put on and make his bed, because she would stop him. So that's our teretz to make the distinction between avelis didei and avelis dida, and the stira between our brisa and that brisa. Says the Gemara, questioning the whole concept. Is there really a distinction between his avelis and her avelis? To Tanya, someone loses his father-in-law or his mother-in-law, He can't force his wife. Lias kechelas, lias bekeses. He can't force her to have makeup on. They used to have, we saw in Masechta Moed Katan, they would turn over the bed. And she is noiging with her avelis. If she loses her father-in-law, or her mother-in-law, she doesn't have the shus to put on makeup. Okay, so now you see the chayr, it's the exact same thing. There's no difference between the two. And for the Gemara, Tani, learn the avelis today. Who yoshan bein anoshim, v'ishtei sheina bein anoshim. Right? Learn, and if it's his avelis, then they sleep separately. Says Rabbi Katani, ki Katani. When does it say that? Akichul va'pikus. On kichul upirkus the same din, right? Va'imay Katani, mashma sleeping together. Now it's not going on kichul upirkus. It's going on the act of sleeping together. That it's the same. Says my love imay b'mita. Says my love imay b'bayis. She's able to go ahead and be with him in the same house. In front of your husband, noyig avelusa. The loyib, I guess, hard, not in front of her. Noyig avelusa. The loyib apa loy noyig avelusa. So that's one we answered. We were consistent. We have one answer to the stira of why in our brisa do they have to separate? Because it's speaking about his avelis. Why in the brisa can she perform acts of chibur? Because it's her avelis. Says the Mara, another teretz. Let's make a distinction, guys, between avelis to alma and this avelis over here. In other words, the halacha that we spoke out in the second brisa about being made up and being able to perform in Yonei Chibur, right? That's speaking about when stam they've been married for a long period of time, versus our case where they're married for an hour. Says the Gemara, how can you compare avelis in this particular case to avelis in general? Avelis the alma, the avelis that takes place all over chomer, it's so chomer, and therefore since it's chomer, you won't come to go ahead and use alzal. Again, avelis that is in general, you've lived together as man and wife, comes along avelis. There's no way in the world you're going to go ahead and live with your wife, have relations with your wife. Therefore, she's permitted to do in Yonei Chibur. She's permitted to go ahead and give you water, pass you a cup. She's permitted to wash your feet. She's permitted to make your bed. Because since it's very chomer, she's not going to come to do anything. It's very chomer. And even if it's his avelis, doesn't make a difference, either one. But avelis the hacha, even the kila rabbanon, over here, since the rabbanon will mako, you may come to go ahead and have relations. Now, what's the kula over here? What's the kula over here? Boil bilas mitzvah. If you're going to say that you put the mace in one room and you boil bilas mitzvah, upirish, and then you separate. The reason why you could live with your wife, it's not because you make by avelis, is because there is no avelis. Until the time of avelis is chal, we'll see in the second machlokes tanoim. Until the chalois of the avelis, you're not an avel. Just because one lost a parent or one of the relatives that you mechuyev to misabel over doesn't make you an avel. It's only after the kfura or after the mace leaves the house. But since you put it in a room, the reason you could live together is because there was an avelis. So that's not a cool in avelis. There was no avelis. Now, when is avelis chal? Il Rabbi Eliezer ad sheyetzim pesach habayis till the corpse leaves the house. Il Rabbi Yeshua ad sheyistam agaylo. Achlokas Rashi and Tosfos, what that is doesn't mean the top or the sides, but it means till the kever, till you go ahead and put a stone on top of the kever. Ella diktani noyig shivas yom. Ella, what's the kula? That noyig shivas yimei hamishta. That you noyig 7 days of Mishnah and 7 days of Avelis. So now, here you are, you just got married. You lived with your wife one time, and you buried a parent. And now, you're still going every single day. You're having a party. You come home from the party. It's naturally a feeling of cravus and everything. Over there, we're worried. So therefore, we'll go ahead and separate bein ish v'isha. Masha enkin, in a regular case of Avelis, there's no way a person's going to be over as avelis, and therefore the dvarim shebitzina, dvarim that of chibur, of passing a cup and making a bed and washing hands and feet and legs is okay. So therefore, it's not really the stira that you asked in Avelis is not a stira. So we have two terutzim. One is speaking about his Avelis, therefore you have to separate because you can't trust him because his Yetzer might be too strong. Another is speaking of her Avelis, where we don't care about him, she's going to stop him. That's one way of answering. The second way of answering is it's a difference in Avelis. It's speaking about a universal Avelis. It's speaking about whether his father died or her mother died. We're not making that distinction and fetching it into the brisa and splitting up the brisa that it's only going on part of the brisa, not on the other part of the brisa. We're saying it's going on the whole thing. And what Avelis we're speaking about, whether it's his or hers, it doesn't make a difference. But there's a difference between the Avelis of this scenario and the Avelis of a general scenario. Avelis of our scenario, what did you do? You went ahead, you buried your parent, or right, you buried your father, she buried her mother. Now you're having mamish shaver brachas. Good? Mixed emotions. You can't have them sleeping together because, again, you can't trust people because of that kula of shaver brachas. Conversely, in a regular Avelis, with no shaver brachas, that all of a sudden all you have is the Avelis. There is no simcha whatsoever. The male, of course, they're not going to live together. If they're not worried about living together, she's able to go ahead and do what? The varim of chibur. Everyone should have a great day. Thank you for listening.